All right. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the office hours. It's been a bit. How y'all doing? Let's get to the office, shall we? Hello, welcome. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of Twitch. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. This is a live stream. Where I talk about Star Citizen. A game I haven't played in a while now. So how y'all doing, chat? It has been a while, yes.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Dog Platypus just resubscribed for 7 months, 3rd trimester. Let's get some more love for SC.
Thank you so much for that. 7 months of support the doc. You're a very important pupper, very impressive pisser. Thank you, pedestrian. This is your fault. You should drink a night. Shots and cheers, chat, y'all. Shots and cheers.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
N1GHTCOB just resubscribed for 18 months. Whoa. It feels like just yesterday. Hey, you rock, Paul.
Thank you, Nightcob. That 18 months of support. You're a very important pupper, very impressive pisser, very pedestrian. This is your fault. You're drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. That's 2 Twitch babies, Paul. We're officially breeding. Don't say that. Don't say that. Thank you for that 18 months of support. So I am a little on the sick side. A bit of a head cold. No coughing, just my nose is stuffed up and my head feels like garbage. As far as I know, it's not COVID yet, but I haven't taken the test. I do have it in case, but so I'll be hanging out a little bit, but we're probably not going to be very long. I say that we're going to stream like 7 hours now. Not the Rona. Not the Rona. Currently playing Starfield. Good. All right, so let me start this off because I can finally officially explain this. Anyone who thought Starfield was going to replace Star Citizen is insane. It's just it's absolute nuts. It's bonkers. It's like saying, you know, Arma will replace frickin' Fortnite. They're not even the same genre. We get so caught up in the idea that every space game that exists is the same genre and forget that space is a setting, not a genre. To be fair, there's not a whole lot of Star Citizen content to talk about. That is very true. I am very much enjoying Starfield's release because I can do more stuff with Starfield and get more views. Yeah, Taco Bell will never replace a taco truck, ever. I still love Taco Bell, though. Yeah. I was unimpressed by Starfield. I enjoyed No Man's Sky better. See, I think a lot of people came in to Starfield with the wrong impressions. I think a lot of people came in thinking, oh, Starfield is going to be No Man's Sky or Elite or something like that, or even Star Citizen. And it's like, no, it never really is trying to. Yeah, it's completely different. And I'm going to be very honest. I heard a lot of people say, oh, well, Star Citizen or Squadron 42 and Starfield are going to become... No. I'm gonna stop you right there. No. No. Not even close. I know enough about the gameplay of Squadron 42, and I know enough about the story of Squadron 42 because I'm stupid and I leaked I like spoiled myself to know. No, they're not even trying to. It's Wing Commander. Would you say Wing Commander is an open world RPG? No, you never would. It's just Wing Commander. Like, I love Starfield. It's great. But I'm also a big Bethesda fan, so I understand why some people don't like it. Hey, the firebug. I have no idea what Starfield is trying to do, to be honest. I can tell you, Starfield is trying to be an evolution of the gameplay that Bethesda has been doing since 2000, since 2002. Since they moved the perspective to three dimensions with Morrowind and really emphasized the open world nature, because a lot of people forget Bethesda did games like Wayne Gretzky's Hockey and what else did they do? A lot of the Elder Scrolls games before were more 2D games, like more like a Doom sort of thing. Hey, what's up, Shinobi? Starfield to me is a sprinkle of Fallout New Vegas, Mass Effect, Skyrim, and then its own unique thing amongst Bethesda games. Yeah, it's trying to kind of evolve that formula. And in some ways, it does a really good job. In others, it's hot garbage. Like, the inventory screens are atrocious. They're terrible. The UI is not very good. I do kind of like the star map, but I think Star Citizen's star map, if they are going to do what I think they're going to do, will probably be better than Starfield star map in the end. I love that the Vanguard commander commented on my taking my extra time to listen to all the UC history during my trial. Yeah. Did you also notice how kind of skewed it was? I loved how they complained that the Freestar Collective used human shields, and they like literally portrayed it as like a shield that was like blowing up ships. It's like, you just got beat by a militia. You know how the joke about how the snow speaks Finnish and the trees speak Vietnamese. Well, in Starfield, the depths of space speaks Freestar. That's basically what it is.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
All right.
But you can
never, ever
take away my space game.
A terrible bishop just resubscribed for 4 months. I'm upset about how long it took me to realize that Wendell is basically just Vandal.
Yes, it's 2L, 2W, 2U's. Thank you so much for that 4 months. You're a very important public, very impressive, very pedestrian. This is your fault. The reason for tonight. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Currently, Starfield is not really better than Skyrim, in my opinion. I disagree, but then again, I think that comes down to a lot of factors, including things like preference. I'm tired of fantasy settings, so science fiction settings with the Bethesda formula is great for me. Hey, Trusan. I don't think Starfield was a test for the engine for Elder Scrolls 6. It was them. This is something that they really wanted to make for a long time. It's just, I'm gonna be like, come here, come close. Come close, chat. Let's talk about this. I'm gonna be very quiet about it. Hello? Okay, there we go. All right, let's try that again. Round 2. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know how that happened. Anywho. All right. I'm going to start from the beginning. Come close. Listen close. I've been saying for a very, very long time now that Star Citizen will never, ever find a competitor, a direct competitor. People have been saying, but Paul, technology is getting better all the time. And people see how much money Star Citizen's making, and they're just going to make Star Citizen. Because someone's going to make it. No. Bethesda had fuck you money. They had absolute god-awful numbers of money. They had Microsoft shoveling money at them so that they could make the next big franchise for their console. And they still didn't make fucking Star Citizen. Because Star Citizen is A, way too hard to make, and B, way too expensive to make. Like, that's just it. I'm sorry. All of you people out there who have been desperately wanting to see Star Citizen fail and see another game come in and beat it up. Trust me, I'm there too. I would love to see another company come in and make a Star Citizen-like experience, but maybe evaluate on the formula. But it's not going to happen because it's a stupid fucking game in the sense of time, money, and like business sense. It's terrible. Ugh. Hey, Mom, Rob. Thank you, Reaver, for watching. Give Starfield a month by the modding community, and we'll have released an unofficial patch and fix the issues with the game. Yeah, they will. They'll be fine. Yeah, Star Citizen doesn't make a profit. They almost break even. I mean, they do make a profit, and some years they make bigger profits than less, but they also make losses. There was a couple of years that CIG ran in the red for Star Citizen, but because of previous years running in the black, they were fine. If music is distorted for you, what you need to do is clear your cache. I mean, that's basically what happens. It's a Twitch thing. Because it's only the music, not my voice. It's a cache issue. Hey, Axis. You're right. It's all in the fact that a company owned by stockholders can't do what CIG is doing. I mean, that's very true. The problem is that Star Citizen is not the kind of game that will attract a lot of money. It's the kind of game that attracts a lot of ambitious idealists and dreamers, because it's an everything game, and these sorts of games are hard to make and they take a long time. And I'm very glad that Starfield showed up. Trust me. And I will definitely be covering Starfield in the near and distant future. For lore and other things like that. And I'm playing Starfield on Sunday. Like, it's gonna happen. But the reality is that Starfield is not and will never and was never going to be Star Citizen. Hey, Dr. Drone. They also don't own any money. The game is already breaking even because we're paying for the work as it gets done. Yeah, and it's also getting tested as it's getting done. So there are a lot of changes that would take place after the release of a game are being made in its development, which is causing the time to expand in terms of how much time it takes to make it, because a lot of different factors, but one of them. But it does also mean that the game, that when it finally comes out, will be a lot better in terms of polish and playability than other games. And you can see that with like the mining experience and the salvage experience. They're much better than they would have been if they just dropped the initial drop. I'm playing Starfield on Sunday, but, you know, I gotta go back to Star Citizen. Good example, I hate to say, is Mega Man X Corrupted. I don't know what that is, though. 41 hours logged into Starfield, and maybe 3 or 4 of that main story blast with it. Yeah, I'm about the same. Hey, Don Cobb. Welcome from Grand Rapids. I'm coming at you live from Austin, Texas. I'm sorry, space. I'm coming live from you from Pyro. Now, does that mean that I'm entirely happy with Star Citizen? Hell no, because we're going to talk about the thing that was sort of stealth confirmed recently. We'll start with that, which is 4.0 is not coming out this year. It's something we all knew. We all knew for a while now because CIG's been very quiet about it, which is never a good thing. But let me pull this up. Do. There we go.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Try to pull it up.
Moria_the_chose just resubscribed for 17 months. Space this, space that. Beat Starfield in 5 hours. I knew that Sig wouldn't deliver Pyro this year, but here's some money to you.
Thank you. Let's see. Thank you so much for that. Moria the Chosen. Space this, space that. Beat Starfield in 5 hours. I knew CIG wouldn't deliver Pyro this year, but there's some money for you. Thank you so much for that 17 months of support. You rock. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. All right, so here we go. So this was a comment on the Roadmap Roundup, and this is Jake's response, which is, that's the thing, Roundups typically only call out additions, removals, or delays, as well as show scheduled work. For the actual details, what was accomplished, the monthly reports have this covered. August is coming next week. We're also releasing a bit of a holding pattern for release view as we're awaiting the QA test requests to go out for 3.21's features, which we will then add those to the cards as tentative to the roadmap. So, as you can see, 3.21. 3.21. So, what does that mean? It means that the fourth quarter patch is in fact 3.21. Which means we will not have a 4.0. So, for those of you who are still holding out hope beyond hope, kill your hope. Crush it. They claimed in Discord that they talked about 3.1 and ISC was like, no, it hasn't been. No, I don't think it has. With all the hidden updates in 3.20 and the dev posts stating more to come, there are chances of 4.0 and Evo this year. We'll see. I think if CIG is smart, and again, I'm not saying this is something they will do, and I'm not saying that they are or aren't at this point, but I would say if CIG is smart, what they should do is continue to do 3.21 as a stable branch to release and play the game on, because one of the things that a lot of people had issues with was they wanted to play the stable game, but 3.18 was getting all of the attention, and there was like nothing new added to 3.17. So 3.17 was effectively a patch for like 6 months, and without much updates, while CIG was all hands on deck in 3.18. So if you release 3.21 and then release a 4.0 Evocati at the end of the year to have it run for 3 to 6 months, then you at least have, 4.0 might still come out at the end of spring, but then you still had a 3.21 with new content that was added added to the game that's people already playing. What's that? Yep, Road to Pyro me again this next year. I don't think we'll see a Road to Pyro next year. I think we'll see Pyro come out next year. I think unless there's some serious problems, which we will learn about at CitizenCon. Trust me. But no September yet. I haven't put up a September thing yet because I've been super out of it. So. Do you have any sources for that, Northern Trooper? Because I didn't see any sources for saying that it was built on the 320. 320 patch cycle. My space lasers,
but you can never, ever take away my space game.
Dragon_ just resubscribed for 10 months.
Dragoon, thank you so much for that 10 months of support. You're a very important pupper, very impressive person. Following you, very impressive person. This is your fault, the Russian Trick Night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. The following is my own opinion, does not affect that of CIG, RSI, or its partners and subsidiaries, but as a backer, there's no way we would have released 4.0 as the quarter 4 patch, right? As almost the entire company is taking 1 to 2 weeks off of Christmas and New Year's. C Daddy, 3.18 called. That's exactly what happened. Like, I don't want to be salty, but I am going to say we've been down this road before, and I'm very, very, very confident that CIG will do some stupid shit again. Not as an attack on any individual person at CIG, but there tends to be I like to call it the desperation move, that CIG will do things that are traditionally stupid, but they need to get something out. And it happens a lot, like releasing a patch on a Friday, which is usually poo-pooed upon. Oh, we already knew that 3.4 was the new 3.18. Oh, come on. There we go.
Logarithan just resubscribed for 11 months. 07.
Thanks for saying 11 months of support there. They're longer than you were. Very important, very impressive, Mr. Very pedestrian. This is your fault. You're drinking that. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. We don't talk about that patch. No, I don't think it's been confirmed, and it wouldn't really matter because 321, unless it's some major back-end issues, I don't think there's really a problem with it. I mean, I can already tell you, generally speaking, what 321's going to have. It'll probably have, I mean, the hopium in me is saying it'll have Bounty Hunter version 2, because that's been really working. But almost certainly we'll see tractor beams added in 321. We'll probably see the new cargo decks in 321. We'll probably see an economy kind of a little bit of update with 321. The reputation system that they've been developing, the new kind of ad hoc or the new out of mission reputation system that they've been developing, that's probably going to be added. Cargo missions, like good cargo missions, that's probably going to be added. So there'll be some stuff that people really want with 321, but it's probably not going to be, but it's not going to be something that's like revolutionary change. I think SRV is going to be 321, yeah. It's going to be the IAE patch. Am I going to SitCon Astro? So I was originally saying no, but I talked to my wife, and I'm like, if I just go alone, would be okay with you. She's like, yeah, it's fine. So I may go to CitizenCon this year. If I do, I'm going to have to fundraise, though, because it is expensive for me to go. And it'll only be Friday, Saturday, and I'll go home on Sunday, sort of thing. So thoughts on Squadron 42? I have been waiting since December 2013 and just started playing in June. I'll tell you that Squadron 42 is almost certainly going to have some sort of major announcement at CitizenCon this year. My guess is for a release date for the end of next year, but will probably be delayed another 6 months, 6 to 12 months. So anywhere between June of 2025 and December of 2025. Probably more like October of 2025. The reason why is not because of anything related to CIG. It's just generally speaking, AAA titles, the kind of scope that CIG is going for, they almost never hit their initial release dates. We already know it's missed its initial release dates by a lot, but multiple games have had multiple pushbacks, multiple years for their releases. Starfield, Cyberpunks, No Man's Sky had that. Tons and tons of games. Baldur's Gate 3 famously had a bunch of pushbacks. So, hey, Luna Maria. Freight elevators, 321? I think so. I think we'll see freight elevators in 321. Well, usually Rockstar Games don't announce dates. Economy in 321, give me that hopium. Yeah, well, I'm a man of I'm a man who has hope. I'm cynical, but I have hope. Hey, Noodly. Just in general, I think a lot of people are more cynical. There's a lot of people out there when it comes to Star Citizen and Squadron 42 who are a lot more cynical than they should be. And there's a lot of people out there who, when it comes to Star Citizen and Squadron 42, who are too optimistic, more optimistic than they should be.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
Tree 0311 is built on hope.
Take away my space game.
SFSX Shingo just resubscribed for 25 months. Happy Thursday. Hope everyone's doing well. 07.
Hey, SFX Shingo, thank you so much for that 25 months. You're a very important pop, very impressive pisser. Any pedestrian, this is your fault. You're drinking my shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers.
You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Hi, Moonphase. Tree's been following the game longer than I have.
Beer the Great has subscribed.
Thank you so much there, Beer the Great, for that subscription. You are a very important pupper, very impressive pisser of any pedestrian. This is your fault. You're reason drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers.
Dem biddies.
Hey, Dragoon, for that 100 biddies to earn that 1K bits badge. You're my friend. Hope never heard of it. So a couple things as well. Friday, we're going to be doing Void Crew. For those of you who don't know Void Crew, let me pull up the trailer and I'll show you all what I mean. So it's out right now. It just released today.
Welcome aboard, followers of Medem. Remember, working in harmony as a crew is key to success. If all systems fail and hope seems lost, remember to blame your teammates.
So, yeah, we're gonna be playing that on Friday. It's a silly version of what is it called? Pulsar: The Lost Colony. Right now, it's just me and Tree, I think, are going to be doing it, but we'll be doing it tomorrow afternoon. Of course, Wednesday, I'm going to drag Loken in. We're going to play it together on his stream, but we can get Buster. We can drag Buster in, I'm sure. It's already a better space. Well, you fly a ship around and fight in space and then do EVA stuff. Yes, it's going to be doing more space stuff than Starfield. But it's, I mean, it's also a, it's also an indie game, but it's done by Focus, who did a lot of the 40K games, and they've got a couple other games that come out, so, as a publisher, so this is also an early access launch, so it's not a full release, so I'm guessing it's going to be broken, but it'll be fun. I'm gonna blame them anyhow. Me, I'm perpetual Hawkeye gif staring at CIG patch notes and watching ISEs. Yeah, we can watch ISE together, y'all, but it's not bad. I've seen most of it, but it's, woo lordy, it is not very engaging. I'll just say that. Is Void Dude playing? I can reach out to Voidy. We can do it together. I'm cool with playing with Void. All right, let's watch it real quick.
So I've just always liked racing since I was a kid. I think I was like 5 or 6 years old and sat down watching TV. I was watching.
Fun fact, I believe he worked on Dirt, the original Dirt, or maybe Dirt 2. He worked with Codemasters before he worked for CIG.
Monster truck racing, and then it grew to a love of, touring cars, Formula One. So I basically travel all the country in the UK and I take pictures of cars. And that's something I've been doing for about 4 or 5 years now. It's gone from a hobby to sort of semi-professional level now, which is really cool. Here I am, 40 years old, and I still love it today.
Racing is far more than just maybe motorsport. It has like this innate ability to change in a split second.
It's a chance chance for people to determine skill levels and to show how much practice, how much time, how much effort they've put into a sport.
Racing has an incredible ability to bring people together, I think.
I'm a pretty competitive person, and so the ability to kind of challenge people, no matter who you are or where you come from, it's a level playing field once you're out on a track.
It's about pushing things to the limit, both in terms of the machine and the car, and then it's about the drivers or the riders pushing themselves to the limit within that machine.
My favourite thing about racing in Star Citizen is just the skill.
It is a pure use case of how you use our ships to their maximum performance. You have to know them to get everything out of them.
Love Yogi.
You use ships that aren't necessarily used for practical reasons.
You can race cutters, you can race M50s, you can race Furies, you can race whole A's, you can race whatever you like. And as long as everybody's on a level playing field, it always comes down to skill.
Am I good at racing? I'm all right. Yeah, there are people who are better than me. There are a lot of people who are worse than me. But yeah, I'm good.
To compete with other people, to fly from A to B as fast as possible, that's where real competition is coming from.
We had an internal scoreboard for the old Roundabout times. I think I beat the next highest score by 10 seconds. We've got a little competition going inside.
I felt like I really nailed that lap, and this guy's gone 15 seconds quicker than me in the same ship. Like, how is that possible?
What other game with this level of quality can you play and race with 6 degrees of freedom? There isn't. There just isn't one.
He's not wrong.
So last week, a whole bunch of us got into a play session in Arena Commander and did a few classic races.
Most of my stuff has been like single player time trial stuff in Arena Commander or just in the tracks around the PU. So that was the first like big group race that I'd been involved in.
Even though half the people that we did the playtest with, I didn't know, it felt like jumping in with your mates, and yeah, I like that aspect of it.
There was a moment where we were all like lined up and we did like a countdown and we were all going to drive off and get this cool shot of us flying through a cave.
Let me just get down to this first corner actually, because I want to try and catch some people smashing into this rock. I mean, going so perfectly through that.
You mean you want a good angle of the start, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of anticipation, a lot of kind of banter going back and forth. Everyone was hyping up about how great they'd be. And we said go, and they all left and immediately crashed into the first corner.
Oh, wow.
It was carnage.
I mean, there's a hell of a lot of crashing into walls.
Hit me.
Turns out I'm not very good at racing at all, and people who I thought wasn't going to be very good at racing were in fact incredible at racing.
I've never flown into a wall quite as fast as that.
I didn't even get to the first corner.
Every single time I hit the wall, so yeah.
Wait, has everyone crashed? How am I winning?
Let's all regroup at the start line again.
People who make the games you'd think would be really good at it. Yeah, well, maybe we should delete that footage, actually.
We had such a big skill gap between the best and the worst. The guys who film all the great capture footage, they were insane.
I got a bit carried away and started actually racing, which isn't ideal because I needed to get footage of other people, but they were all behind me.
I don't remember the name of the player that was winning every race, but it was quite obvious that they were flying with 2 sticks.
Maybe half a lap till the end, Will just comes absolutely tearing past me.
They were just blasting off way ahead of someone like me who literally helped work on the ship. It was kind of funny and a good reminder that just because you make games doesn't mean you're good at them.
Who's that? It's just come under me, cheeky.
The best racer by far, by leaps and bounds as well.
I've got a lot of envy for Will and his ability to operate our ships. Like, how can you fly our ship better than us?
Oh, who's the worst racer? Oh, I can't answer that question.
It definitely wasn't me, so that's all right.
I think I smashed into more gates than I've actually been through.
Someone just exploded right next to me.
My favourite ship is the Razor because it looks like a supercar, and when you get into it, when you're flying it round, it has that aesthetic.
The best racing ship for me was probably the Mirror Razor.
I think everybody knows that the Merlin is one of the best racing ships. It's small, it's light, it's got good engines.
I know Josh really likes the Razor, but I need a little bit more maneuverability in my ships. I found it too fast and not maneuverable enough. I know it looks cool, it's very Formula One-y.
I'm not too bothered about top speed, but handling in the corners and then acceleration out of them, I think that helps the way I fly best. As much as I like flying the Fury, I think the Razor still got it for me.
I don't think I really got disappointed by any of our ships. The one that I found the most difficult to race was the 350R. While it's got good acceleration and a really good max speed, it drifts a lot. I'm in a 350R, and I'm trying to get myself around a corner while the Fury is coming up behind me. The Fury is moving in ways that my 350R can't, and so I'm just having to pick a line and stick to it while the Fury is able to dance around me.
The Fury was incredible.
Cough, cough, by the
really
Fury
small
LX.
and really fast and nippy.
In my opinion, it was the LX, and objectively, it was the LX.
I told you, mate, that Fury's rapid. I'm sure it's just the Fury, just the ship. It's got nothing to do with driver skill at all.
It was.
But for the record, it's not Will Skilling, it's the Fury.
No.
It's because they built the Fury with this racing mode in mind. You got to remember that, like, they completely overhauled racing for this patch. It always happens whenever they have a new material or new update. They have a ship that goes around with the update, and it's always the best at what it does. You know,
It's 100% just the Fury. Yeah, nothing to do with Will.
The Fury and the Fury LX really surprised me personally. No, bullshit. No, we knew the Fury was going to be good.
140, what the hell, bro?
Look at the Fury! We did a 112!
Oh my god, this thing's fast.
So in Alpha 320, we're introducing the Fury LX.
The Fury LX is the Fury that has been absolutely tooled out for racing. We've removed all of the weapon mounts and replaced them with extra horizontal strafing thrusters. The base Fury's weakest directional thrust was actually strafing. It had a little bit of trouble as it came to sliding around corners, because while the rear main thrusters can gimbal as much as they do, they sometimes struggle to provide like directionally horizontal strafe. So adding the extra thrusters in meant that it now has that little bit of extra push when it comes to correcting itself in those sort of situations.
So the first thing you're going to notice on the LX is definitely the new wings. It's such a striking design, more akin to the Razor, right?
I absolutely adore the new wings. I think the use of negative space and how it's like an F1 wing.
Everyone's going to complain about that. Everyone's going to complain about that. Why don't you just make it hard? Why does it got to be empty? Because everyone still complains about the hammerhead.
Is some of the nicest racing stuff we've done. It very closely mirrors a lot of the looks in the Razor, which I think is absolutely wonderful in a racing ship like this.
And if you look past the livery, you'll see tons of intricate details, tons of vents, even air brakes, which would be great to work eventually when atmospheric flight and surface controls get brought into the game. What's really cool as well is, from a third-person perspective, you'll obviously see those 4 thrusters doing their magic again, but they have these really cool light bars along the kind of rear spoilers, and they look really impressive, especially at nighttime. If you're going to take something as key from the design away as like the weapons, right, you need to put something cool in its place. And I think the introduction of that extra MAV, and then it's got so many like aerofoils and different things going on at the front, which just makes it look like it cuts through the air, and it really does. So in the playtest, it definitely...
By the way, that's the other thing I'm almost certain will be in 321, which is flapperoodies. Flight controls, atmospheric flight controls.
They performed really well. It was really interesting to see the differences between like the base Fury and that, and then comparing it to obviously to the Razor. It performed as you'd expect, very racy, very cool, very flashy, and there was nothing quite as cool as, like, for me particularly, being one of the people who worked on the Furies, was sitting in the base Fury, driving along, and then having an LX fly past me upside down, spinning by someone who was obviously much better at the game than I am.
So the Fury LX is absolutely for the racer who wants maneuverability over all else. With its gimbling thrusters, with its extra horizontal thrusters, it will easily outmaneuver pretty much anything else out there.
You know, I'm going to stop pushing you on DCS now after that moment. I am not a sim guy.
Oh, you know what? We forgot to mention Alex again.
He died.
Meanwhile, down below.
For 320, we've got some really exciting improvements to the ground vehicles. We've got a brand new TIE model, and this is based on the MANCHACA model. It allows us to create a lot more kind of fidelity within the physics for the ground vehicles. So we've got a curve of forces that allow us to control how the vehicles feel and basically how much grip they have when you try and turn a corner in these vehicles. So it gives us a lot more fidelity, a lot of control, and this has allowed us to remove a lot of the old arcade mechanics that the old ground vehicles had, which kind of restricted their movement, which is why they felt quite floaty before. So we've taken a lot of those restrictions out of the system. So now when you do a big jump, you'll feel the weight of the car as the nose dives, or if you jump off a ramp or a rock or something, it'll feel like a lot more weighty and a lot more realistic. And also it's going to allow the different vehicles to perform very differently as well. So
listen,
we've got
listen, Nightcob, I called them flaps and everyone got mad at me when I called them flaps.
Big cyclone buggy, which is really quick and really agile, and it's got loads of powers. You can do drifts in it. We've got a little PTV buggy, a little STV, and these are going to feel more agile. It's really going to allow the players to kind of pick the vehicle which kind of suits them. So we're going to carry on to improve the physics, basically fine-tune the handling within what we've just changed in the physics, but also we're going to convert the ground vehicles to use the power system that is used on the ships, is StarCitizen. So that's probably going to be the next big step for these vehicles. You know, they'll use power properly, they'll use fuel, and that's going to be a big change.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that racing is deep in the hearts and minds of many a Star Citizen developer. That it's a fantastic way to test your mettle against others in the least destructive way possible. Alex trying to drag race in a Herald notwithstanding. And that Mirai has a fast new variant of the Fury on its way in the upcoming Alpha 320. And, well, I'd be remiss in mentioning that while we did film this just a few days ago, the winner of this year's Ship Showdown should be crowned right about when this airs. And if we ended up with 2 Drake ships against one another in the finals, as somebody hopes, John Crew has to legally post a video declaring his love for all things Drake. So I really hope you cast your votes accordingly. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Yep. My Corsair won. I haven't even paid attention. The Corsair was number 1. The Vulture's number 2. Y'all voted for a flaming garbage can to be number 3? Y'all, I say y'all don't have a good sense of humor, but you obviously do, because no one would vote for this shit. No one who's of sane mind and body. This is how I know Star Citizen's full of morons, because y'all voted for this. I mean, I got 3 Best in Show skins. I have a Corsair. I have it 600. I don't have. Well, I do have one of these, but fuck this. You know, against my will, I have one of those. Wheel support when? I think this is the first step for wheel support. I know Darge has been like chomping at the bit for more realistic ground physics, and I think this is the beginnings of that. So, and if someone said, wait, Ranger? And I think this is the beginning of that, like getting more realistic ground physics for vehicles and that sort of thing. Vulture made it number 2. Listen, I'm just happy that Drake got number 1 and number 2. All right, Drake represent, baby. All top 4 ships get skins. There, your boy Benny. It's just that the Corsair gets a bunch of special stuff, like a backpack or like a plush or something like that. So someday the Gladiator make it the brackets. When the Gladiator gets its full overhaul, I will go balls deep in Gladiator territory. All right. That ship is has the coolest fucking lore of any ship in Star Citizen. It has the most detailed explanation, and it's probably got the most character because it's a failure. The Gladiator is built off of a scam that managed to work. It's like I'm gonna say this and it's gonna piss off a lot of people. It's like the F-15 of Star Citizen. The F-15 was incredibly expensive to make. It cost way more money than it was worth doing. But in the process of making the F-15, the folks who built it learned how to make the F-16, which was like the budget version of the F-15, and it can make a lot of it and does almost everything the F-15 does. Or it's like it's either like the F-15 or the F-22, similar kind of thing. Like very, very fucking advanced planes, but super fucking expensive to make. But by making them, they learned how to make things cheaper, and then they made, you know, the F-16 and the F-35. So it's in that very similar ballpark. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a replacement, a kind of like an F-8 Lightning style replacement for the Gladiator at some point. Yeah, no DCS for you. I'm not saying the F-15's bad or the F-22 is bad. They're fucking amazing planes. It's just for the cost of what they cost to make. It's incredible that there is that as many as there are. Gladiator is 100% the Space F-15E Strike Eagle. Yeah. Was built super expensive. Not a lot of people knew what they were doing. And then after a while, they figured out how good it was. They're like, let's just fucking make the shit out of it. Let's do some cool shit with this. Hey, Tyrek, how you doing? What we're talking about? We're talking about the Gladiator and how it's got the coolest lore of all of the ships in Star Citizen, like hands down the coolest lore. Yet it is woefully underrepresented in the game. Which ship is the F-22? Probably the Hornet. If I was to put something down, it'd probably be the Hornet. I mean, the Hornet is literally the Hornet, the F-14 or the F-18, but it's not really because it's a one-person ship, but it's in that kind of ballpark. Yeah, the F-7A, where it's like literally no one can beat the F-7A. In the universe, the F-7A is the best fighter that humanity has ever built. It's insane what that airframe, that space frame can do. It is fucking nuts how versatile it is. And it's already being replaced with the F-8 Lightning. Like nothing can beat the F-7A, but they're already replacing it with something better. That's probably more like the F-15, if anything. Ah, oops.
Silky68 just resubscribed for 36 months.
Thank you so much for that 36 months of support there, Silky. You're a very important pub. We're very impressive pisser of any pedestrian. This is your fault. You're drinking out. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. If you ever have to use a F-22, it's going to demonstrate how dauntingly capable it is. I have heard stories about the F-22. That thing's scary. It's the kind of thing that is the F-22 could be in this room with me right now and no one would fucking know. It's that kind of crazy. Just that story about so for those of you who haven't heard the story, it's been all over the internet, so I'm sure some of you heard this before. So I think it was in the 2005, it's like in the aughts, not in the 2010s. The US was flying Predator drones near Iran, and so Iran would keep fucking with the drones, shooting down the drones or trying to knock out the drones out of the sky. And so at one point, the US decided to send escorts with these drones to stop the Iranian fighter pilots from fucking with them. And so drone was flying near Iranian airspace. 2 F4 Phantoms, piloted by Iranian fighter pilots, pull up to start fucking with it, and at the absolute out of nowhere, an F22 just rises up beside it because it had been underneath the two F4s the entire time, and they look over and just see this plane appear. And over the radio, the pilot apparently said, "You should go home." And they did, because they didn't even see it on their radar. It just emerged out of the clouds. It's like, fuck. And that's the declassified information we have. We have no idea what it's done since then. All we know is that it doesn't have any kills other than balloons right now. Do I think Squadron 42 will shit on Starfield? Real question. I don't think it's going to appeal to the same audience. I think the kind of people who will enjoy Squadron 42 are the kind of people who enjoy games like Hitman or Last of Us or God of War or like action games. Games that are more, that have some open worldness, kind of like Hitman, where you can approach the same target multiple different ways, and games, people who like really cinematic story experiences, because you're locked in with Squadron 42. You're not exploring the galaxy. You're a pilot. You're a stick jockey on a boat in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's your job. It's Wing Commander, yeah, but it's like a next generation Wing Commander. So I think there'll be people like myself who enjoy Starfield, who also enjoy Squadron 42 for different reasons. But I think you're going to see a lot more people who are interested in Squadron 42 because it's the closest they'll get to something like Mass Effect, combined with like Wing Commander. I've always said, like, when I'm trying to describe Squadron 42, it's like, think Mass Effect, but you're a fighter pilot. Is the kind of way of putting it. You're not making love to alien women and stopping a galactic conspiracy from, ancient space robots from destroying the universe. But you are just a dude in a spaceship. Yeah, so the thing to understand about Wing Commander is that Wing Commander games all have branching story paths. So how you, if you fuck up on a mission in Wing Commander, you just move on to the next mission. There's no fail state. You just have a worse experience. You can jump paths back and forth. And so that was the design philosophy that they approached with Squadron 42. And on top of that, Squadron 42 was built with, this is the objective, this is you, complete the objective. So you can do it in any way you see fit that works the best for you. So that encourages replayability, it encourages different styles of gameplay, so it's not just forcing you to just shoot in this area. Now, I'm not saying there probably will be sections where you're gonna have to shoot your way out. You have no choice. But generally speaking, the goal is to give as much of the players the ability to choose how they want to. And this is because Chris Roberts has openly said that the inspiration behind a lot of the gameplay material for Star Citizen and Squadron 42 initially was Dark Souls. And he specifically talks about how, you had to learn to play the game right, and it would be very harsh if you weren't playing the game, but if you learned to play the game your own way, you would be able to learn how to achieve your goal in your own kind of manner. It's the whole idea behind Death of a Spaceman and stuff, so. Resource manager will play part in ship malfunctions for sure. We're definitely going to get ship malfunctions, yeah. Bonus question. Do you have any inside information on Squadron 42 you cannot reveal? Yes. But not because I have like signed an NDA or anything, but simply because like CIG would ban me, blackball me from experience I know the entire story of Squadron 42. The overall story. I don't know like the details really. But it's my own fucking fault, so. Is this information at least good or bad? It's as the information that I'm saying is as. Oh, are you talking about like in general? Information is not good or bad. It just depends on the way you look at it. Everything I'm saying is stuff that's been talked about by CIG for years. Wait, we're not the chosen one in Squadron 42? Garbage. Yeah, you're not the chosen one at all. You're just a pilot. You're the UE's dog. I mean, I wouldn't say you're an extraordinary pilot, but you're a good pilot put into extraordinary circumstances. That's the way Squadron 42 works. Pulling info? Get him, boys. I mean, you don't want me to tell you the story of Squadron 42. Trust me, you'd rather play it. Some of the endings in Wing Commander were less than desirable. Yeah, they get dark. One of the endings of original Wing Commander was the destruction of Earth, if I remember correctly. Do I think there's a chance Squadron 42 will be released this year? I do think there's a chance. I don't think it's a high chance, but I do think it's a chance. I think there's a higher chance that Squadron 42 gets announced for release next year and then gets delayed because they need to have more time to work on it. The advantage of it being announced and announced for a date next year is that if it does, we will get a lot more fucking information, including images, video, and updates on Squadron 42 after CitizenCon. Because now they'll stop sitting on the information and actually tell us, showing us cinematics and gameplay and all those sorts of things, which will be nice because now you can actually see if you want to play the game or not. I hope the large ship combat is as savage as Star Trek Into Darkness. I do too. There's like people just getting sucked off into space. Look, I've met a few pilots, and they have zero issues landing partners for sexual activities, ever. They're all confident, gorgeous people who work out and fly planes. They're rock stars in the military. Yes, but in Squadron 42, you get no satisfaction. There is no sex in the UES Stanton. Because you're not really, like, from what we know, you're not really a pilot. You're the Air National Guard. for at least the beginning of Squadron 42. Oh, okay. I'll talk to Tree about it. I don't want to impose on Tree too much. Thank you, Jaden. Because I know he's coming with his wife, so. So why no 4.0? So because we're getting 321. That's been confirmed as the fourth quarter patch is 321. We knew that. I mean, I don't think it's ever been fully announced. I know Jake said it's been mentioned in the past, and everyone knew 321 was a thing. Everyone knew it was going to be a 321, but I don't think it's ever been kind of officially talked about like that. Yeah, almost everyone knew that 4.0 was not coming out this year. I thought at best case scenario, we would see a kind of a Eva Coddy release of 4.0 right before, like just like they did with 318. But maybe CIG's learned from their mistakes and we're going to see 4.0 come out, you know, spring of next year. But we'll see. Not surprising, wouldn't want a big patch like 4.0 being done when CIG is going on winter break. Greg, come here. Have you heard of 318? Because it's exactly what they fucking did. And it was a nightmare.
You can take away my space
suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Iris Dread Tide just resubscribed for 8 months, 4.21 before end of year. You heard it here first.
4.21. Did I say 4.21? 3.21. Thank you so much there, Iris, for that 8 months of support. You're a very important pubber. Very impressive pizzer. Any pedestrian, you rock. Shouts and cheers in chat. My bad. One time, C-Daddy, do not make me pull out the history books and point out that 2.0 was done the exact same way. And so was 3.0. There was a long history of CIG releasing major patches, like 0.0 patches, like X.X patches, in November. It's almost like a tradition at this point. If CIG finally doesn't do it, I will be so fucking happy. Did you guys already talk about Squad 42 for Xbox and PS5? There's always been a big like indication that there will be console versions of Squadron 42. But I don't really like a lot of the leaks that come out because a lot of the leaks that are just rumors are rumors. And a lot of them don't fit, like they don't mesh well with the people I know who work at CIG who, you know, just in general, will talk about their work. Not like in detail, but like you'll let me put it this way. What matters, how you know something's happening in, say, like a government agency isn't by reading a top secret classified document. Like if someone's telling you something about something that's going on in like the FBI, you don't ask them, you know, where they store the alien bodies. You ask them, what do they have on the lunch menu? What's the color of the break room? You know, how many, you know, where is the office of like the attorney, or not the attorney, like the deputy director? Like what floor? And when do they go for lunch usually? Those like mundane things. And the mundane information that I know about CIG has always, whenever I hear these rumors, I'm like, none of this matches with the mundane information I know. It just like doesn't make any sense. Like the concept, like, oh, well, they've got a Chinese studio. And I'm like, I have never heard anyone even remotely mention a Chinese studio. To be fair, 318 to CIG 318 was in PTU through the holiday break. So was 2.0 and so was 3.0. I believe 3.0 might have been a little earlier, but 2.0 definitely was in PTU through it. The absolute shit show that was the release of 2.0 is the reason why Eva Coddy exists. How much tequila have you bought for CIG employees? Not that many. Besides, I don't need to. They have a lot of fucking booze in their offices, and it's all gifted to them. Do you know how many fucking citizens they've given them so much booze that they can literally not drink at all? They have like cabinets filled with booze. I am not even like they don't have any places to go. Well, remember, Squad 42 has investors, sort of. Those investors are now board members. So those investors also have their own media company dedicated to advertising. So, I mean, the long and the short of it is, I'm fairly certain that they got involved because they saw the potential for revenues and profits for their other company, and so they wanted to get on board to kind of help out. Investors still expect a return. They're not a, it's not a publicly traded company. The people who invest are the board members, but they're not the majority shareholders. That's still Chris. They're basically friends of Chris. To think of as like former business associates who wanted to get in on the action. So 100% no 4.0 in PTU. Did CIG say something recently? They said that 3.21 was going to be the patch after 3.20. And 3.20 is releasing sometime in between now and the end of October, which means that the 3.21 patch is going to be releasing sometime between November and December. October, November, December. So there's no space for a 4.0 at that stage. You just don't have enough like staff freed up for a 4.0, especially a 4.0 since it's so massive. We'll know more about 4.0 at CitizenCon. They'll tell us about it. They'll never stop telling us about it at 4.0 or at CitizenCon, but I mean PTU. I doubt we will see a PTU at the end of the year because CIG goes on a long break and a lot of people take their holidays around then. So there may not be enough people around to test it enough to be able to have it go into PTU. Thanks, Paul. But supposedly Sandy leaked it by accident during an interview. Do you have a link to it, Midgards? I'm not saying I don't believe you, but like as I was also going to say about the whole thing, Ben Lesnick said, what, 2014, 2015? He made the comment of every single Wing Commander that was made by Chris Roberts was released on consoles. When people kept asking, hey, because Sony sent them a PS3 or PS4, what was that? I think it was PS4. They sent them a PS4 development kit. And when they asked Ben about it, he was like, I can't confirm anything, but all I'll say is that every single Wing Commander that was released by Chris Roberts ended up on consoles. I think it's a huge missed opportunity to not release something big to ride the Starfield hype. I don't think it's a matter of missed opportunity. I think it's just a matter of time. CIG doesn't want to like release anything because of marketing. They just want to get the game done. So Squadron 42 will not be on consoles ever. Got it. Almost certainly Squadron 42 will be on consoles. But that is a entirely different discussion that likely happens as a business discussion, because Squadron 42 is 100% going to either go multi-platform or will be unique, and almost certainly I think that CIG will more than likely make it go unique to like a PS5 exclusive or an Xbox exclusive. And the reason why is because they don't want to spend a dime on it, but they want to make money. So if they can convince Sony or Microsoft to basically buy the rights to turn it into a console game and have one of their own in-home studios do it, then CIG can get money from it and not have to work on it. Because there's no way Squadron 42 is first coming out to consoles. It's going to come out to PC first and then consoles. I've been saying this for like 6 years now. And every time I do, someone gets really mad about it. It's like, it makes sense. Just like it makes sense that Squadron 42 is going to release on Epic Game Store, on Steam, on every single store that exists. Eventually, it will be released out there because it'll increase the audience and increase the revenue. But they don't want to do that initially because that's wasting money. I know Execute was discussing it with Expat. So if you're referring to that, that was with that wasn't with Sandy. That was with Aaron, and it was, if I remember correctly, a rumor at the Bar Citizen that Aaron was at. All right, chat. I'm going to be right back, and when I come back, we'll kind of finish this up because we've been going for a little over an hour, so we still got about an hour plus in me. But I'm going to go use the restroom when I come back. And make sure that the sound alerts are on, but I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. If you're watching this on YouTube, mute for the time being because Twitch chat's going to go insane. Be right back.
Drugs. It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Distress bacon.
Drugs.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot. 2 words.
Weapons free, y'all.
Distress bacon.
Good news, everyone.
2 words. Distress bacon.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Distress bacon.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot.
Complicated profession. 2 words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. Two words. Distress bacon.
Cajitas where?
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
I'm Pilot.
Drugs. Drugs.
2 words. Distress bacon.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Distress bacon.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot. Weapons free, y'all.
Drugs.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Bacon. 2 words.
Good news, everyone.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Cajitas where? East, left,
Drugs.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Weapons free, y'all.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Cajitas wares, if you have coin.
Distress bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
2 words. Distress bacon.
Drugs.
Good news, everyone!
2 words. Distress
Weapons free, y'all! Hello, I like money!
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Cajitas wares, if you have
Distress
coin.
bacon.
Drugs.
Kitchen amount.
Drugs.
Cajitas wares, if you have coin.
I'm Fly. I'm Pilot.
Drugs.
All right, I'm back. Enough of that. Enough of that. Sorry about that, y'all. Took me a little bit longer. Ugh. Whew. Even though it can't really happen with Microsoft, I don't deny that Microsoft, it's a two-way street. It's been a long time since Chris Roberts worked with Microsoft. And a lot of the people who worked with Chris at Microsoft are probably not there anymore, at least the executives. But I wouldn't be surprised if members of the Digital Anvil company ended up working at Microsoft in like higher executives or like other formats. So, and last we heard, Chris still does have some connections with Microsoft. So who knows? It could. If they paid CIG enough money, they could. Probably Squadron 42 rather than Star Citizen. But yeah. Well, I did state that if you're throwing like a grenade into the chat. So we don't really have much to talk about. If y'all have questions or you have other things, feel free. The Roadmap Roundup is interesting, but I think the most interesting thing about the Roadmap Roundup is just 321, some updates to like timetables, but we're pretty much in the throes of the no information until CitizenCon, because CitizenCon is now like about almost 2 months away. So we're probably not going to see much in the way. In fact, I don't know. ISC, I'm sure, is going to end in like September, like early October. So we'll end up with like 3 weeks of nothing until Squadron. I keep saying that until CitizenCon, because I keep believing. I believe, chat, that we're going to get a Squadron 42 announcement at CitizenCon. What level is my main? It's like 19, 20. I would have had more, but Bethesda specifically told us that we couldn't have our high-level characters in day one, so I just stopped playing that high-level character. I haven't played a lot of Starfield since this weekend because, you know, going back to work and doing other things, so. But just the Chapter 1, yeah. We're almost certainly going to see Chapter 1, but Chapter 1 is not Chapter 1. I don't think we're seeing... So when we say Chapter 1, we're saying the first game, which is 20 to 40 hours. I don't think we're seeing Chapter 1 is in, like, the first hour of the game. Because for those of you who don't know, Squadron 42 is broken up into 27 chapters. And they're not going to be released individually. It gets confusing because Chris Roberts calls each part of Squadron 42 chapters, like Squadron 42. You know, it will be Chapter 1, and then Squadron 42 Chapter 2, and Squadron 42 Chapter 3 as a trilogy. Because originally it was one game, but it was too big. And so they broke it up into 3 games. But inside of Squadron 42, there are also chapters of Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to, I think, 24, between 24 and 27. So it's like, we're not going to see Hitman style release where it's like a chapter release and then another chapter release. At least that hasn't been mentioned. It just gets confusing with people, though. When were they in Japan? I know they were in South Korea and in China, but Sandy asked a question. She didn't leak anything. Try not to invent narratives to fit your bias. Okay, like again, I don't know everything, so. Hello, fellow Star Citizen citizens? Yeah. I don't think we're going to see the Kraken release anytime soon. We're not going to see capital ships really released. We might see a concept ship be sold at CitizenCon, but they've sold capital ships, concept ships for a while, and it's still nowhere near release. So, you know, buyer beware at that point. The reality is that anything you hope for is probably 6 to 12 months out, at best, if they're talking about it. So, like, capital ships. We're probably going to see the Polaris released at some point next year, based off its current progress. But, like, the end of next year. But there's no point in having it released at the end of next year, unless it is also coming with multi-crew gameplay, which it seems like resource management is finally in Star Citizen. It's like in the process of being completed by the end of this year. At least, if not by 321, then 4.0. But that's still a long ways out. Sometime between now and like middle of the year next year. Once you have resource management and you have multi-crew gameplay, then capital ships can start to get actual kind of look-ins. But that's going to take a while. Question, do you think CIG will take any cues from Starfield? Probably not. I don't think there's really anything in Starfield that is worth CIG looking at. Just because Starfield is an RPG, first and foremost. And I don't think any of Star Citizen or even Squadron 42 is really an RPG as much as they're action games. Star Citizen does things so differently, there's nothing they need to take from it, basically. Like, in many ways, Star Citizen is already better than Starfield, like seamless transition from space to ground, atmospheric flight, ground combat, or not ground combat, but like ground transportation. And in other ways, Starfield is better than Star Citizen in that, like, Starfield has, I think, better gunplay than Star Citizen. It has better NPCs, better AI behavior. But those things that I just mentioned are things that CIG is already working on and will probably improve the game in the next year and a half. But the gunplay feels like Destiny almost. I would say it's an involvement. It's an evolution of the Fallout 4 style, which is fine. It's just not a sim. They asked about cap ships on the in South Korea meet, and one of the devs said, "Keep an eye out for for CC. It's only a theory, but it's a fun one. We'll see." I mean, yeah, they have Rastar. Rastar's in 320, but it's not fully updated. And yeah, the Pioneer. You'll get stuff like that. The reality is the outpost system in Starfield is just the settlement builder in Fallout 4 reskinned. with a third-person camera. It's very similar. It's almost the exact same. Like, I will say that there are some major elements of Starfield which are basically Fallout 4. Like, sound effects are exactly the same. And the gunplay is very similar, though I think Starfield's better in gunplay. It has more dynamic. It has more guns that are better, that are more interesting. The NPCs are better. I found that they're a lot less brain dead than they are in Fallout 4 and other games. So, Oh yeah, no, the Equinox is basically the las rifle from Fallout 4. Some estimates put Starfield development at 300 to 400 million. It started development at the same time as Star Citizen and Squad 42. Yeah, but you also don't put it. That also doesn't take into account advertising. So I would add at least 50, if not 100 million to advertising. So I would put Starfield at around 500 million, between 4 and 500 million would be my guess. I think it'll make all its money back, but you know. Still can't get past character creation in Starfield without crashing. That sounds odd. I didn't have that issue at all. I love Coachman. Though the Coachman is actually the worst shotgun. There's a pump action shotgun that I picked up in my my pre-release character, which I've been trying to find. It's just so much more. It's got like it's a semi-auto pump action that gives you 8 shots per magazine. So not the old world one. It's a different one. It's like a space version of it. The Starfield proved that people love spaceships in space games due to the in-depth spaceship building system. I mean, yeah. As someone put it, Starfield gives us a language for what to expect in Star Citizen, a stepping off point for context. Okay. The only shotgun I'll endorse is the one in Halo 3. Everyone loves the Halo 3 shotgun. The Grendel extended mag is like a P90. It is. I think a lot of people screwed up their own expectations with Starfield, though. Especially in our community. Because there were so many people. Like, I was streaming Starfield and I had people coming up being like, huh, look, I'm glad that other White Knight shills have like, abandoned Chris Roberts. It's like, my dude, I've been talking about Starfield for 3 years. Shut the fuck up. And what's going to happen is what always happens is people will enjoy Starfield. The hype for it will die around end of September. And then around October, November is when people is like, I'm bored. Let's do something else. And there'll be the hardcore Starfield fans who will stick around it no matter what, because that's what they are. And they're Bethesda fans. And they love Bethesda games. And it always happens like that. And then there will be the average person will move on to whatever is next. Sorry, this is a chunks. Yeah. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like I had 0 issues with Starfield. 20 hours in pre-release, had no issues. And then at release, I had a couple of weird graphical issues, but nothing really major. Have a good night there, Scrub. I had a lot of people saying, you know, you lied, Paul, no bugs. I'm like, I didn't experience any bugs. Like, it was pretty polished. Mods will extend the life of this game like the previous creation engine, Bethesda games. Well, yeah, and of course they're going to do expansions to the game. They'll have story expansions and other things like that, which will improve the game. It's going to be good. I don't watch Cameral, so I don't know. All I know is that there were a lot of people who were hoping that Starfield would kill Star Citizen, and now they're mad at Starfield for not killing Star Citizen. Like, yeah, you set bad expectations for yourselves. I don't think many people are having issues, but those that are having crashes are having them so frequently, you can't even get past character creation. I'm sure they'll find it. You just can't win. Well, I mean, like, let's set some other expectations. Ubisoft has been theorized that they're working on some sort of space game outside of the Star Wars Outlaws, but the Star Wars Outlaws, and that comes out next year, is going to be a very good 10-hour experience. Maybe 20 hours with some light expansions. It'll be focused heavily on cinematic experiences. It'll have some light stealth options, a lot of combat, some light NPC interactions. It's going to be a good, solid game. It's going to probably feel a lot like the original Jedi Fallen Order. Probably won't get like massive great reviews. It'll be like, Uncharted in space. It'll be good. But I guarantee you, people will be talking in our community, will be screaming to the high heavens that it will destroy Star Citizen because people are stupid. Hoping for some fauna at CitizenCon? I don't think so. I think we'll probably see some fauna at CitizenCon, at least initial versions of them. We know boys have been worked on for a while. We know that there are fauna that they've been creating for Squadron 42, so I wouldn't be surprised if those show up. I mean, Starfield brought the experience I expected it would. Yeah, it actually was better than I expected. Like, one of my biggest problems with Bethesda games is that I tend to get really invested in them for the first, 10 to 20 hours, and then it's hard for me to complete it. Like, I completed Skyrim, I completed Oblivion, and I completed Fallout 3. I never beat Fallout 4, but I've gotten pretty far in it. I've gotten to the point where I could beat it and just chose not to. Kind of lost interest. And I never beat a Morrowind, but that's a completely different story. But it's really difficult. Like, I'll play it hardcore for 20 to 40 hours and then stop, which is a lot, but not really what you want in a game, to have a really good experience. And yeah, I mean, I think Starfield is I've already put more time in Starfield than I have put in the first couple of weeks than I put in most Bethesda games. Question, will we see Pyro at the end of this year? I mean, we'll see it. We won't play them. We won't play Pyro by the end of this year, but we'll see it. We've been seeing Pyro for last 5 years straight. Fallout 4 had decent gameplay and average experience in terms of the story and characters. It never really grabbed me, but the gameplay was better in terms of other things. But I really liked Fallout 3. I really liked New Vegas. I liked Oblivion. I liked it better than Skyrim, but I think Skyrim had a better story. But I think Oblivion had a better hook. But as time went on, Bethesda had leaned heavily on simplification trying to make an RPG that would that appeal to everyone, and as a result was so watered down it really didn't appeal to anyone. And with Starfield, they took what they liked and what people complained about, what people liked about, and they tried to make an evolution of that experience, and that's what I feel like they did. This part of Star Citizen is what Christian initially pitched in August 2012. It was only after they patented object container streaming that we got the MMO in 42. Uncanny, I don't know about that. They pitched Squadron 42 and Star Citizen at the same time, and they were definitely going to be an MMO. Star Citizen was always going to be an MMO. It's just you weren't going to land on planets. I mean, okay, Starfield is what Chris pitched in 2012. Yes, to a degree, yes. Squadron 42 wasn't a stretch goal. So a lot of people, I've heard this back and forth. I've heard people say that the Squadron 42 was the original pitch and Star Citizen was added later. I've heard people say that Star Citizen was the original pitch and Squadron 42 was added later. The answer is they were both launched at the same time. There is some interviews which say that originally Chris wanted to make an HD Wing Commander, and somewhere along the way they decided to also make a Freelancer 2 and decided to just make them the same game. Yeah, Fishy. It wasn't much. It's basically I'll give you the detail of the roadmap roundup. There was nothing added other than the Fury LX, and it was and the other big thing was that the next patch after 320 is 321, so 4.0 is not coming out this year. No Pyro this year, which again isn't surprising if you've been following Star Citizen's development. I still had hope up to July that we were going to see 4.0 come out like a 318 style, but as far as I know, based off of the video evidence that exists, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen were pitched at the same time, and the first marketing pitch was actually Squadron 42's trailer, and they kind of pitched them both at the same time. Someone's compared Freelancer and Starfield last night. I can't stop thinking about the similarities. They are. They're very similar. Even in the story structure, they're very similar. Because, you know, Freelancer is this big divided universe with different, like, groups vying for power. Very similar to Starfield. Yeah. Star Citizen was a single-player game and 42 was a multiplayer. No, reversed. Star Citizen was the multiplayer MMO and 42 was the single player version. Yeah, iCache set us back a while. But really what it was the seamless transition to ground to space, the landing modes. That whole project is what really caused everything to screw up. I don't remember what... It's procedurally generated planets. That's what it was. The ability to procedurally generate planets. That's what destroyed the pacing, like, just in general. Okay, let me pull up the Kickstarter, all right? Because I think you were entirely wrong there, Uncanny. Okay, so here is the Kickstarter. Because it's still up. So last update was April 6, 2013. Star Citizen is a rich universe based off of epic space adventure dogfighting in first person. Single player, offline, or online, drop in, drop out co-op. Persistent Universe by you, moddable multiplayer by hosted by you, no subscriptions, no pay to win. And what they're talking about with the single player offline online drop in drop out co-op is Squadron 42. Here.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. Ever since I saw Star Wars as a wide-eyed 8-year-old, I dreamt of being a hotshot
so
pilot
young.
saving the galaxy, or a lovable rogue making my way across the cosmos. It inspired me to make Wing Commander and has influenced everything I've done since then. 10 years ago, after 20 years of making games, I was burned out, so I took a break. But I never stopped playing games nor loving them. And now, I'm ready to come back, and I'd like to show you something I've been working on. But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. I want to build a game I always wanted to build, but I didn't have the tools to do until now. One that you can fly off a carrier fighting a heroic war on the front lines, but also one that you can muster out and find your own fortune in the stars wherever your spaceship takes you. I want to be able to share this experience with my friends and fight against real opponents in space, not just AI. And I want this to be as good or better than any other game out there, and I want to actively push the boundaries of what you can do in a game. None of this would have been even possible 2 years ago. But with Moore's Law driving PC performance and cost and the gaming community embracing talented developers via crowdfunding, I believe it is possible today. I've never been accused of having a small vision, and so I thought it was best if I share my ambition with you visually. I'm pretty excited by how it's joined out, so why don't you come join me for a sneak peek. What I'm building, the Star Citizen and the Squadron 42 combination, you essentially have both things available to you. So Squadron 42 is the sort of single player experience where you are getting missions. You're in the military, so it's not that open world.
Do I need to keep going, Uncanny, or do you admit that Squadron 42 was always the single player experience?
Because you're going to be going AWOL if you decide you want to go off to some other planet. So the idea of it is you serve a campaign, you fly missions, it's branching just like Wing Commander was, and you have exactly that Wing Commander experience with the added bonus of some multiplayer and your friends be able to sort of co-op play with you as wingmen when you fly your missions. But when you finish your tour of duty, you muster out and you're in the wide universe, and then it's open world. You can go where you want, do what you want, choose who you want to be. And the other thing that's nice about this is you don't have to do Squadron 42. You can get into the Star Unit. You can basically decide you're never going to go fight in the military. You can decide that I'm just going to be a merchant or I'm just going to be a pirate. I think what we're talking about here has everything that made Wing Commander great and has everything that made Privateer and Freelancer great. It basically has both things and the single player sort of military campaign side sits inside this whole universe in a holistic fashion. The idea is that it should be dynamic. So I've talked about a sort of the universe being a living entity and something that's always changing, and it's going to change based on the player's actions. So things that players do will have an effect on the universe, and they'll also be able to become part of the universe. So a good example is, say, a player that's an explorer, and they explore around enough time, and they find a space anomaly, and then they manage to navigate a jump. That jump point and the system that they've jumped into will get named after that player. So like that player becomes part of the history and lore of the universe. And on top of
Yes. So originally, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen were sold as one package because they were the same game. The difference was that Squadron 42 was the single player experience and Star Citizen was the multiplayer experience. And then in 2014 or 2015, they split the packages up into two. But if you purchased one of the original packages back when they were like $20 on Kickstarter, you got both. So, like when I purchased my original package, it had both Star Citizen and Squadron 42 in it. So they were a combination of the two. But Squadron 42 was always the single player experience, and Star Citizen was always the multiplayer experience. And the drop in, drop out co-op was a feature that was originally pitched for Squadron 42, and then they dropped it because they're like, it doesn't work with the story they want to tell. 2016, thank you, Aimless. That's just like I've heard that story. I've heard so many different stories about what was first, and the answer is they were both. They were always the same. Co-op Wingman? That was the original idea, but it's been dropped since 2016 or 2017 when Aaron Roberts came in to take over the team for Squadron. That was one of the first things they cut. Was just like it doesn't work for the story elements. So. We can go back and watch, but
for that, you know, we're going to be dynamically adding content to these universe. I'm not interested in having yearly updates. We'll have a team of people that.
I have a life there, Chris. I don't know what you're talking about. I touched grass today, in fact.
Are adding content on a weekly, every 2 weeks basis. So you're starting this system and you're starting the game and it's got 50 star systems, for instance, and 2 weeks in, a jump point's discovered for another system and someone navigates it and bam.
Starfield is fine.
51st system and so on. So one thing I think you'll all be very excited about is the level of fidelity in space, the graphical detail, and the immersion, because it's to a level that I've never been able to achieve before. I'm trying to build a world that it's so detailed and has such great texture that you forget that it's a game, which is always my goal when I'm building games. I'll just climb into the cockpit of the fighter, and as you can see, as we're sort of climbing in, there's a huge amount of detail in the cockpit, because one of the biggest keys for me in the next game.
Yeah, he's talking about he's talking about co-op mode for Squadron 42, Uncanny. He's not talking about Star Citizen.
Building is I really want to have that immersion to be complete, and we're going to do a lot of things that will really push that. Everything inside the cockpit operates and moves and works. If I look around the cockpit, you can see the displays, my hands on the throttle, my hands on the joystick. The whole idea is we're immersed fully in a cockpit that's fully rendered in 3D. So if you issue a command, you hit a button, you'll actually see your character doing the cockpit. It's all for the immersion. Well, I think immersion is really important for me because I think that you have to really visualize and create a very believable world. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I always sort of really push the visual fidelity, is because I think that helps with the immersiveness. And the more immersive, the more connected you are to the experience. The more connected you are to the experience, I think the more fun the game itself will be. So an example of that is if we're looking around at our character, we can see that the character himself is about 100,000 faces, which is about 10 times the detail of most current day AAA games. There are about 10,000 faces or so. And so that just allows you to have a little extra detail.
Butt scratch.
The wires on his pilot outfit, the creases in the uniform, and have it really stand up when you come in close and not break down because it's too pixely.
Hey, Celine.
So I'm really excited about the physics, and they're going to be a strong part of the gameplay. So let me demonstrate some of the features.
Think of that 17 months there, Celine.
How you control. The ship itself is built and designed and simulated like a real ship. So there's 4 thrusters on the bottom, and there's 4 thrusters on the top, and then of course there's obviously the engine at the back. Most of the ships in this universe are going to fly very much like an F-35 would do. They're fly-by-wire, so they take your...
The original plan was to have co-op in the campaign, and that was dropped. But you were saying that Squadron 42 was the multiplayer game, and Star Citizen was the single-player game, which is patently untrue. Squadron 42 was always the single-player game. I can go back to tell you where he says it's the single-player experience.
Content on a weekly system that they've jumped into will get has both things you want, do what you want, choose who you want to be. Want to go off to some other planet. In the Squadron 42 combination, you essentially have both things available to you. So Squadron 42 is the sort of single-player experience where you are getting missions. You're in the military, so it's not that open world because you're going to be going AWOL if you decide you want to go off to some other planet. So the idea of it is you serve a campaign, you fly missions, it's branching just like Wing Commander was, and you have exactly that Wing Commander experience with the added bonus of some multiplayer and your friends be able to
multiplayer
co-op play with you as wingmen when you...
Which was dropped later. But that was the most multiplayer you had with Squadron 42. The major multiplayer aspect was...
But when you finish your tour of duty, you muster out and you're in the wide universe, and then it's open world. You can go where you want, do what you want, choose who you want to be. And the other thing that's nice about this is you don't have to do Squadron 42. You can get into the Star Unit. You can basically decide you're never going to go fight in the military. You can decide that I'm just going to...
So you don't have to play Squadron 42. You can just play the Star Citizen game. That's my point, dude. Like, you're wrong, is my point. You're wrong, and you're just digging yourself into a hole trying to find that you're right. You were wrong, and you were wrong from the beginning. It's okay. I still want a simple third-person UI for vehicles and FPS. You're never going to have that with Star Citizen. That's never going to happen. That's Chris from the past, yeah. All right. This is just Star Citizen is a PvP, even if you think it's co-op, different stations isn't a mole. Intership PvP. It's just an argument that I've heard a lot. I've heard this argument many times as to what Star Citizen was at the beginning and what Squadron 40, what was first, Squadron 40 or Star Citizen, what was the plans, all that kind of thing. There's a lot of misinformation out there. When am I jumping into Star Citizen again? Next week. Because this Friday is, we're going to do Void Crew, which is the new 4-player co-op multi-crew ship game that's being released from Focus. It's in early access. And then Saturday we're doing Captain's Table, which I have to reach out and see if I can get some people to come in and talk about stuff for Captain's Table. And then Sunday I'm going to do some Starfield again. So. For Captain's Table? Well, the last one I was going to do was what's going on with Squadron 42. Though I may do it on 320. Just kind of initial thoughts on 320. Captain's Table had the whole new fury. The Captain's Table might end up being a little bit more broken up here in a bit, just because of the other things we need to do. But I've been going for about 2 hours. I'm probably going to call it a night here because there's just not a lot to talk about right now. And I have been feeling a little bleh as of late. So 320 is in PTU. So you can play 320. So it just... So are you truly going to go to CitizenCon? Yes, I just need to get a plane ticket, and I have to raise some money, so.
Maxwell just discovered the meaning of life. If we would invent time travel, do you know if the young Chris could help the old Chris for finish Star Citizen?
No. But thank you for that 42 months of support there with Twitch Prime, Max. You are very important pupper, very impressive, very pedestrian. Shots and cheers and check, y'all. Shots and cheers. Why not both? Because it's usually a good idea to kind of stick to a single topic. And I tried to do a topic on what's going on with Squadron 42, and nobody wanted to come on. Nobody wanted to talk about it. I was like, God damn. It's probably going to be difficult for me to get people on to talk about Star Citizen for Captain's Table for this week. Next week might be a little bit easier, but in general, we're heading into the dark drought times, where we're gonna get no information, very little like engagement from by CIG. So, but yes, I am now planning on going to CitizenCon, but I'm only going to be there for 3 days, and I'm leaving on Sunday. So like I may not even be there for the entirety of Sunday, because I got to be home by go to work on Monday. So. So which means I'm going to try to get a flight on Thursday. AstroPub, how long do you think they'll have a multiplayer mod in Starfield like Skyrim together? Probably a while, but... Wait, not a How Has Starfield Killed Star Citizen show? We did that last Saturday. It was a special episode because we did it a little early, but I had Space Tomato and Morphologist come on and talk about Starfield in general. We actually streamed in the Starfield category to talk about it. All right, y'all. I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna head out. I will see you all tomorrow for some Void Crew. I'll probably hop on the Star Citizen a little bit to see if what was going on with the SCL, and then we'll go into the Void Crew gameplay. So if you want to join us for Void Crew, let me know. That'll be it's a 4-player co-op sort of game. I'm definitely gonna add it to a rotation of fun while it's being worked on. So. Starfield we'll go back to the Starfield playthrough on Sunday. So, you know, when I normally stream on Sunday, I'll be streaming on Sunday for just like a nice little easy. And Sunday is going to go back to being the lore squad doing our relic expeditions once through 20 is in live. So. But yes, Paul and C Daddy will have a great night. C Daddy may or may not come back from that alive. C Daddy and I are going to be going into the cage fight that Musk and Zuckerberg failed to have, and 2 men will enter and 1 man will leave, and he'll probably be him, to be honest. But you know, yeah. But I'll be back tomorrow for some of that, some Star Citizen on Saturday, and then Starfield back on Sunday. There's going to be another Star Citizen video hopefully this weekend. I'll have to talk to my editor because we're going to do an experiment where I'm going to do a video on the lore of the 300. And then Uri is I'm going to write it, record it, and then send it to Uri to edit it and see how long it takes him to edit it. Probably take him a day or so. So that may be coming out anytime between Saturday or Sunday. So check that out. Yeah, thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. Let's find someone to raid.